We're live. We are live. Back to the Matrix. Stevie B, Boston. You know what it is. Looking down, now I'm looking up. Back to the Matrix on a rainy day. And last night's game. I'll come back to y'all late. Apologize. Normally we're 9:30. For those that know, a little bit of an issue. If you've like inside, you'll see the Matrix munchies. Little G was a little sick today this morning, so I had to look after him. But we're back. 1 in the afternoon, okay? But we gotta talk about that Bucks game last night. Just shout out to the Bucks for, especially their coach, because that has to be coaching. But part of it is the fact that Holiday and Middleton stepped up and played leadership roles that they brought Holiday to be a leader. But Middleton has shown his ability to step up when Giannis is there. And that game was made off with their veteran leadership. Okay, and the Hawks lack thereof. Aside from Williams being able to be consistently getting some buckets throughout the game, it looked like they were without a leader early. It didn't look the same. We'll talk about that in a second. The Holiday and Middleton. That's really where you have to start. Holiday and Middleton led the way as a 1-2 punch. Okay? Lopez was down low. They were feeding this dude oops and passes for dunks. Assists to this man were down low to him. And that was made possible partly through the fact that Giannis wasn't in the game. If you think about it, you pack the paint when you know Giannis is going to the hole. You can't shoot. Brook Lopez can shoot it. But essentially, when you have everyone thinking they can play the shooters and play the defense, essentially, that the Hawks would have played wasn't necessarily centered around having Brook Lopez play that type of way. But in turn, because the lane was clear, there was a lot going on with Brook Lopez technically being the biggest dude on the floor. And Middleton and Holiday made a point to fade this man the ball when they got attention. And because they were so aggressive early, the attention immediately went to them, thus allowing Brook Lopez, without a packed lane that assumes Giannis is coming down every possession, technically you can move the ball a little bit. And that's really like, and then you got to look at the energy of Bobby Portis. High energy guy. He knocked down every opportunity shot he could again. All I can say is it looks like they made everything difficult for the Hawks, essentially based on the fact that they came out with their veterans, Holiday and Middleton, who just were determined. And I didn't see the same kickback or give back, because when you look at the Hawks roster, they won a game without Trey. And Trey, being a young star, is really their only star that is going to assert when needs to be asserted. And other guys will have good games, and if you look at it, it just makes it evident. Lou Williams was the only guy that seemed comfortable last night, and Capella, or at least did what they do. Herter wasn't knocking down his shot as much. Early, he was being aggressive. I don't knock him off of being aggressive, but they didn't put in Reddish to the end of the first quarter. I feel like Reddish was supposed to be sized and a part of their assertion they were putting forward. I thought with the first game, 2 games ago where they were losing, by a lot, and put Reddish in, he asserted himself, and then they won that game without the last game, with game 4 without Trae Young. and Reddish was in there, and I think they made a big mistake. Not seeing what was happening early and then saying, okay, we got to just stop everything going right now. Put in Reddish for energy and assertion. You needed somebody that has no problem asserting themselves. And Lou Williams is the only person, but Lou Williams is going to get a shot. Okay? If you guys are bullshitting, and he did. I mean, you got to say, Lou Williams was setting everyone up. Or, in the beginning of the game, he moved the ball. They moved the ball, but nobody was hitting their shots. And I don't knock Lou Williams for being just a scorer, excuse me, but it looked like, it just looked like it was a veteran couple of guys that came out against guys that are technically role players. And that's not the same game we saw from them the other night when they came out aggressive and asserted themselves and and this is what I said the other night about that game, about game 4, is that the Hawks are going to have to come out and knock down everything. And they did. Tonight, none of those rolls and, none of those bounces, nothing went their way for the role guys that were technically there. I don't know what the hell is going on with Collins, but you're supposed to have more of an impact. And last night, they all looked out of sorts. From a leadership standpoint, there was no man being the aggressor with respect to movement of the ball, with respect to defense. There was no leader on defense out there. And I don't know what happened personally, but it's the change in the way the Bucks were able to play them. Their defense was not playing in the same context like they were with Giannis on the floor. Thus, the Hawks were spread out more. The Hawks were spread out. The Bucks spread the Hawks out, and then whether it was Holiday going to the hole in the beginning of the game, and then all of a sudden you got him and Middleton knocking down shots, and then you got the lane wide open for Brook Lopez, who has really been a decoy, a big man decoy, pulling any large big man on your defense out of the paint for Giannis because he can knock down the three. And that's really what that was. A complete switch in defense where Brook Lopez got to play the way old Brook Lopez played, who can play. Brook Lopez was a good finisher with the basket. I mean, let's not get it twisted. The beginning part of, in the first, part of Brook Lopez's career was being a finisher at the basket and a rebounder and a guy who could hit a mid-range and pick and pop but he was not known as a three-point shooter. He just continued to stretch his range, just like a lot of these big men have. But Brook Lopez was able to play like himself last night. And you're not asking old Brook Lopez to run and move a lot. He's playing in the paint. Biggest man on the floor spread out, paint wide open. Dude, if Trey doesn't come back next game, or if there's nobody to threaten, or if Giannis doesn't come back next game, say Giannis can't play the next game, they can play the same exact way. They have veteran aggressors. It's Trey. They need Trey back. They need a swagger back. They were able to win a game because they came out confident, and you got to understand the defense was still in a place to where that team couldn't get the paint so easily. And with a bunch of guys who they were the aggressors in game 4. The Bucks were the aggressors in game 5. Point blank period. And when you look at Holiday is legit. Again, you had Bledsoe before. Bledsoe is not Holiday. You got a role player versus a starting, all-star. That guy's an all-star, and any team that he could lead. But 21 a game for him is nothing. 5 to 7 assists, but he's 5 rebounds. He's defensive. I mean, this guy is a factor for them. You got to get it to him. So, game 5. Game 6, we don't know what's going to happen. Game 6 will be determined in the next couple of days because you got to expect if Giannis is going to come back, or say Trey doesn't play, I don't think they play Giannis. I think Giannis is going to suit up for Game 6, but I think if Trey doesn't play, he's not going to play. That's real. Just my opinion. Stevie B, Boston, we out.